So there's all his music from learning, he had this animation. Really, good job. I mean, there is. I
said that at the.
Yeah.
Exactly. She's like.
Can you guys hear me there?
Yes, Dan, we can hear you.
Okay, good. It just went quiet. I want to make sure.
Yeah, we have it muted because we're live on YouTube now.
Oh, it's late.
Yeah, I'm just listening to the delay.
Are we okay to get started in the session?
I think so.
You hear them? Here. You guys
I
talk.
can,
Yep.
I can hear you. So I have 7:15. I am calling remotely. I have a name tag here. I don't know if it shows. Oh, wait, there you go. So I have told the hotel lobby folks, if anyone comes to the lobby, to send them my way. So, and otherwise I'm gonna use my headphones. So let's give it a try. I do have background music. This is as quiet as they can do it. So I'm gonna put myself on mute when I'm not speaking. But I'm calling the meeting at 6:15 Central Time. This is our July 2022 board meeting, and appreciate everyone bearing with me as I'm traveling. So thanks for accommodating this remote call-in. Maggie, I'm pretty sure that's you, although you're quite small on my screen. Are you able to read the mission and vision for us,
I am.
please?
You bet. MSA's vision is to be an innovative, sustainable model of academic excellence for all students that creates well-rounded, lifelong learners and global citizens. And MSA's mission is, we provide accelerated and inclusive curricula and instruction in all subjects with an emphasis on math and science.
Thank you very much. So I'll do the roll call. So Daniel Ellingson here, Maggie Bergeraff,
Here,
Cody Schneep,
Here.
Jeff Eng,
Here.
and I know Jennifer couldn't make it tonight, and Eric as well, and I'll talk about that later. So up next is the item number 4, approval of agenda conflict of interest. Can I get, I guess first off, does anyone have any conflict of interest tonight?
No.
If no, then can I get an approval of the agenda for tonight?
I will make a motion to approve the agenda. Should I, do you want me to take notes? Because Jennifer is not, and we never picked a secretary. I will,
Please.
or Amanda, are you?
I am
Thank you.
doing my.
I will note down voting.
Thanks, Amanda. And I can second it. So can I don't know if we have to do roll call since I'm virtual, but all those in favor, just raise your hand.
Hang on,
Say
Dan,
aye.
just one quick question, Dan.
Yeah, Jim.
Yeah, before we vote, this might not necessarily change any of the agenda items, but for the approval of the MSHSL, we're supposed to sign a document that says we've watched the Why We Play training video. Were we planning to do that today? No.
I was not
So-
planning on it.
So that's one question. You don't have to answer yet.
And you know what, I haven't, and I went to the Minnesota High School League, and they don't have that on this year as it did last year. I don't know if
Right.
it's changed. For the requirements, there is the one thing I have on there, and then there's a form we just need to fill out, but it doesn't say anything about watching the videos. I don't know if
So
it's
it's
changed.
in the form. So you can sign the form, but it says specifically that the governing board has watched the training video. So keep that in mind. Number 2F or 12F in the consent agenda. I'm not even sure what that is. So, I mean, do I move it off to the agenda, or if you can just actually explain it in 30 seconds, we might not need to do that. And the same with 12H, if there's anything left to explain what that actually is, we might be able to leave it in the consent agenda, but there just wasn't enough information in those items. No links, nothing, so,
There's no HR transactions, there's no hires, so we don't,
okay,
so there's nothing there. I think this is a rollover from previous months.
okay.
So we don't have anything with 12H. What was the other one?
12F,
The approve.
I think that's just giving
Good.
authorization.
so collateral changes, meaning what?
Well, if that's Dan, what, that might have been from last year, that you did it this time again last year.
Actually, Randy, I was hoping you recognized that one. So collateral changes, I think is a good question.
I mean, were there any, or it sets us up to authorize you if there were some who could go ahead?
I believe it's, if need be, they can go ahead and do that without coming back to the board for.
Okay,
I guess, what are we defining as collateral changes is maybe your question, Jeff.
yeah. Do you know, or?
I can check into that. If
Do we want to move that and
We can-
discuss it at
we
the
can-
finance meeting and then?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if there's no emergency, maybe. we
I
just
can
put
ask
it in the
Bergen.
next agenda.
I haven't seen that. before. Positions.
Okay, so we take off F and H is not needed because there's nothing linked, right?
Right.
Okay. Anything else? Anyone else?
So we can probably approve the membership, but maybe after we can figure out how we take care of the video. We don't need to do that as part of the vote.
It is on here that governing board has issued the vote. So,
Okay, yeah, you send it and we can take care of it in the month. So I'm good with that. That's it.
All right, thank you. Can we approve the agenda as amended minus H and then also minus F, correct? F and H?
Yes.
Right.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, okay, passes 4-0.
Do we have to do the roll call when it's a hybrid meeting? And then we did
Might
it,
not be a bad idea. There's only part of the same.
yeah, it won't take too long to go down the list.
Yeah, I mean, Danielle Ellingson virtually, I'm doing this. So I'm not sure. I know last time we had to do it when we were all virtual. I'm not sure, but it's maybe to be safe, we can do a roll call also. So next up, monthly celebration. So Randy, will wait till September on that one, but just be thinking about which one we'd like to start off with that. Open forum, did anyone show up? Is there anyone there for open forum?
Do we have a sign up sheet for open forum?
We're good.
We're good.
Okay. Yeah, we're
Okay.
good.
Then I'd like to move on to item 7, approval of our minutes from our last June 20th board meeting. I'd like to make a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll second.
Maggie seconds, thank you. So any discussion?
Not on this end.
Okay, then we'll do a roll call. All those in favor, I'll start with Cody, you're on my top left. So Cody?
Yes. Yes.
Maggie?
Yes,
Jeff?
yes.
Yes,
And Dan is a yes, so we approve the minutes, so thanks for those. Student representatives, again, we'll bring that back in September. So Randy, this is your first update to the board, Executive Director's Report.
Oh, hello, everybody. First executive director's report from Math and Science. So excited to be here. One thing we're going to be putting forward every month is our dashboard, which follows the strategic plan with success for all students, the organizational support of MSA mission and vision, and then the facilities and infrastructure.
Working on it.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's a new document.
Should be under the.
I'm pretty sure it's behind Dan.
Yeah, I think so too.
There you go.
I'm sorry, guys.
That's okay.
No, that's also the wrong. Where did the agenda?
Was that the other one?
Yeah, I
Go to
think
the
that's
PDF
the
down
early
here.
one.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
There we go.
There you go. Yep.
Yes, there
Dashboard.
it is. Okay.
Thank you, Cody.
Yes.
So as you can see, we put together a dashboard on those 3 areas of the strategic plan. And underneath, you can see more of a description of where we're at with each of the areas at this time and place. So kind of a snapshot as of today. A lot of the stuff, some of this will start at last school year, but a lot of it over the summer as we're starting to do some planning and preparation for this upcoming school year with professional development and other systems that we have put into place. So I think we're in a really good spot right now. We have a lot moving forward towards the both the investigation, but also some of these areas that had come forward in our strategic plan. Any questions at all from anybody? Yes.
I'm pretty sure Ms. Dodge explained this, but why are some things pink, dark
Oh.
gray and light gray?
The gray items are from the Success for All Students.
Thank you.
Pink would be for the organizational support, and then the dark is for the last dashboard.
Okay,
Okay,
Cool.
there's separate those three areas.
thank you.
You're welcome.
And what do the green and yellow mean again?
Green is, it's go, like we're good, we're, yellow is, it's still in process. If there were any red, that means it hasn't even started yet. Okay. So green is it's in place and moving forward. Okay. Okay, the next thing, I just wanted to give you a hiring update. I mean, there's a lot of schools that I've been talking to, a lot of directors that cannot fill positions. There's a major shortage right now, and you can kind of just see it's next page down. It's the top of 3. There you go. Followers at home can kind of see. So right now, that's our where we're at. We were able to hire everything, but we're looking for that Spanish, which that's incredible. And I know Jeff was at the welcome luncheon we had for myself. So thank you, everybody, PTO, for doing that. But we had some of our new teachers there. Really impressed with the quality of the new staff that we've hired and been able to bring on. Experienced, top-notch, be great additions to our excellent team we have. So we're really excited to bring forward some incredible teachers to our team. And then you can just kind of get a little breakout as far as, from last year to this upcoming year of our retention. So we have 76% of our teachers are coming back from last year. And then 12% resigned, 3% is taking sabbatical, non-renewal or retirement. So it's kind of a breakdown. So that's the director's report. Any questions on any of those items?
Just with it, so the only thing we're still looking for is a 0.5 Spanish.
Yeah, well, you're right. It's Spanish right now. We actually, since why we made this, the Spanish teacher we offered to actually decline the position, unfortunately. So Spanish. So if you know anybody who is licensed in Spanish, Dan is sitting in the lobby. Why don't you put a sign on looking for Spanish teachers?
I can do that.
Yeah, so we're still looking for Spanish. So that's it. But the other areas really pleased, especially some of the shortage areas like math and sciences that we're able to find people. So.
I had someone.
When do we, so Randy, a quick question, sorry, when do we get concerned? I mean, we're July already. When do we get concerned about Spanish?
We are, Spanish is tough. I mean, languages are tough. Actually, we will be meeting with the Spanish teachers because we did hire a new Spanish teachers. We have 3 right now. We for sure need that other full-time. So we're going to meet with those Spanish teachers and start putting together plan A, plan B. So plan A, of course, we are able to find that person. Plan B is what is the schedule? What are we going to do? If we're not able to find someone. So we'll, I'll keep you all posted on that next month as we'll keep our fingers crossed. We didn't think we were gonna be able to find someone, and then the person we actually offered to, boom, it was like right then they applied that day. We had an interview with them the next. So there's always a hope that something might happen. Someone moves into the area or whatever happens, but it's really helpful that they have a teaching degree just because of what the language means.
So albeit it might be painful, if we don't find someone, is it possible to run and cover with what we have? Or
We're gonna have
is
to
that
make some,
absolutely no?
No, we've
We
got
just-
27 sections, each teacher typically teaches 6. We could probably condense and squeeze and maybe do an overload or 2 down to 4. If we have only 3 teachers, we'll have to make some choices as a request we don't run, because unlike English class where we could maybe hire somebody and give them an out of field, if they don't speak fluent Spanish, it's not used.
you can't be a science teacher if you don't know any Spanish. It just makes it hard, So, yeah. We'll keep our fingers crossed, but we just reposted this morning.
And I also had a parent mention to me that I think we actually have a listing or a posting for a sped teacher on our website. Is that part of your report or something totally separate?
That's something separate. If we with the caseload, we're okay with what we have. But if we can get another sped teacher, which it's always hard to find special education and English language learners, we can definitely take another person. It's not one of those needed. It would be nice to have.
Are we actively looking or not? So,
I think we have it posted, and if we can find
So
someone.
we are in alliance for our maintenance of effort, which is what we're federally required to do. So we have enough to do that. We have had that posted since April. We've had 0 applicants. So we're not gonna go find somebody unlicensed just to have somebody. If we get somebody, then, you know, who's
Right.
good and licensed, then we'll hire them, but otherwise our case, we still only have, I think, 36 or 37 students with IEPs. So we can manage that with our current staffing.
that's good.
Randy, I had a question for you.
Yes.
What is without going into maybe specifics on the individual, what is holding us back from getting a Spanish teacher? Is there anything in particular, or what do they cite as the reason why they chose not to go with us?
Well, yeah, it's kind of a tough. It. Just a fit, I'd say. It just wasn't the right fit for that person.
Okay. So it's not like anything in particular that we have control over that we can change?
It's something we'll need to work through. But yeah, not right at this time, so yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Randy?
Just the fact that we're looking for someone 0.5 help us or make it more difficult.
Well, if we can, that's great. Anything, if we can do the full-time be excellent, we get a 0.5, that helps us. So both is awesome, but
So we're
it
flexible.
just makes it easier for scheduling, yes.
Are we okay to move on to the next one?
Yes.
All right, I have chair updates. So basically just some sad news, if you will. So Eric Fair, our parent member, has decided to step down for personal reasons from the board. So something that we need to talk through together as the board. It just happened here this weekend, so we need to kind of make a plan for that. I think it'll come up later in the agenda as we talk through kind of bylaws and whatnot. We can talk through that as an opportunity, but wanted to mention that because Eric was extremely strong in some of the areas that we need. So anyone listening out there who, you know, in particular parent member, if you're interested in helping us out as the school board, you know, can reach out to me. But let's take that topic later. One of the next items that we have is board committees and governance. So Eric was signed up to help us with our governance, and that's one of the big findings for us in terms of opportunities for the school board to kind of improve ourselves. So that's something that, at least for now, you know, I'll try to help us with, but that's not necessarily my area of expertise. So I will do it the best I can until we can find another plan to help support that area. So that's it for me this month. Otherwise, I think we're going to cover the other topics as we go through. So I get questions from me. Okay, then I'd like to move on to committees, and this one is not, again, just as a reminder not to give updates, but just if there are any questions. So governance one, I think we'll need to hold for now. Expansion, I do believe we have a separate topic on that one. So policy, we have to shore this one up. Randy, you and I had a chance to speak, and we have some ideas on how we can maybe help and handle this one. But I think that'll come up as we talk through the board piece. And then, so if I can move to finance, let me know if I'm going too fast. So for finance, we have, first off, any questions, and then the finance meeting minutes. Cody, if I saw it correct, we're not approving financials this month. Is that right?
That is correct. They, instead of preparing, they're working on the final year-end adjustments that will be used for our audit. So they're still working through that. So we will have them next month for a year-end approval. And I'm guessing they might have one for the first month of the new year.
So any questions for Cody on the meeting minutes? Otherwise, if you guys are okay, we'll move to the consent agenda.
So I just do want to note one thing for the community. Let's see, next month, we're meeting at 3 o'clock on August 8th. And after that, we're moving the meetings from 5 p.m. to 4:30. And those should be the Monday before the board meetings. So, just so the community is aware of that.
Cody, can you say those times?
August 8th meeting is at 3 o'clock. And after that, we're moving them, they're gonna be 4:30 on the second Monday of the month, which is the Monday before the board meeting, instead of 5 o'clock.
Okay, are we all right to move on to consent agenda? So, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll
One
second it.
second. Cody seconds. Thank you. Any last minute discussion on this one?
So just to confirm, we're moving F, or we removed F and we're gonna discuss that at the finance meeting. And then bring that back to the next board meeting, and then H, there was no changes, so we're moving. that.
Correct.
Got a reply from Austin on the collateral change, so I can.
Oh, okay.
I didn't hear that. Was that from Kate?
Oh, yeah, apparently Dustin has responded about the collateral changes.
Are they needed or not?
Randy's pulling up.
Okay, I'll read what he said. It says this allows the executive director and the contracted financial manager to make adjustments to the collateral held at Old National Bank as needed. Typically, no action is needed on these items. Last fiscal year, a note on the file pledge at Old National Bank had matured, which required executive director action to allow the release of the collateral, which is where the statement would factor in.
So I guess, are we okay to put that one back in?
Yeah, I'm okay putting it back in.
Do we need to then remake the motion?
Probably because we had it removed.
Right,
Okay, so
I withdraw.
I
my
withdraw my motion. I would like to make a
Okay.
new. Motion that we approve the consent agenda with the re-addition of F. Back into our agenda, consent agenda.
Cody, can you still second that one or
Yeah, I will second that.
further discussion? And I'll do a roll call vote. Cody,
Yes,
Maggie,
Yes,
Jeff,
Yes,
and Dan is yes. So consent agenda approved with everything but H. All right, thank you. We'll move on to item 13, and Amanda, if you can bring up the dashboard. Great, thank you. So just a little bit of background. So as you guys know, for the past couple of months, we've been talking about how can we help the school move through our diversity, equity, and inclusion, take us to a new state where we'd like to be operating from. And one of the ideas initially was to use the same dashboard as the executive director is using. And this is my own opinion, but it felt a little cumbersome to say that we're going to only talk about the bolded items in that dashboard. So as much as I personally would like to have one dashboard, this is an attempt, this one here that we have is an attempt to try to call out the specific items that are related to DEI, so diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I'm open to feedback on this one. This is a draft, if you will. Same sort of, see if I can bring it up on my screen here too. Same sort of green, yellow, orange, if you will, on track, in progress, and off track. And these items were pulled out of our most recent investigations where there are opportunities for us as a board. So different a little bit than the one that Randy shared earlier, where it has all the administrative items as well, different tasks against the 3 different strategic priorities. So I guess I'm open to any feedback here. I just saw kind of an easy breakdown of how our committees are set up, some training that we need, and some of our best practices. Nothing special about this way other than it was just helpful for me to see where we're at. When I laid it out this way, I could see that we did set up a governance committee. That one we need to talk about reconfiguring here with the most recent change into our school board. But I did want to highlight it as an example that we had the committee But we need to have that committee do the next items, which is the revising bylaws, policies, and board setup. So that was listed as yellow, saying it's something we need to do more work on. I don't need to go through each and every one of these items here, but there's work against each one of these bullet points. And I used bullet points instead of the full paragraphs because we're still discussing what's the best way to share this information out with the community. So I kept it at pretty high level. So any thoughts? I guess I'm interested in feedback on this. Does this make sense? I'd like to be able to have something clean and short that we could kind of follow along with and making our progress. Concerns? Go ahead, Cody.
So someone, a parent at a previous meeting talked about when the board packet was printed in black and white. The colors weren't clear, so maybe if we put the on track with the green on the completion column, that would help when it's printed in black and white.
That's a good idea. Yeah, thank you.
Or some other symbol.
Yep, good point. Maggie or Jeff or Randy, any thoughts, concerns?
I kind of like this because it gives the board a chance to kind of do the area that really is the governance piece of it, because of course, the one that we're doing from the school is more on the school end of it and the academic side with the strategic plan. I think this gives the board an opportunity to kind of share with where they're at with some of this as well.
Yeah, so for me, it was kind of helpful to list it out on one page, some of the stuff that we need to work on. So
I like that for just easy understanding. Just here's a snapshot. It does refer back to something else, but I do like that.
it was one of the follow-ups we agreed with our authorizer as well, right? That we would kind of starting to have some sort of metric that we can kind of track and say, you know, how are we doing honestly on these different topics? So, okay. Well, it doesn't have to be fixed. I mean, we can make this evolved, but so next month I can make it more clear for black and white printing. And also, I mean, seeing the yellows and the kind of oranges makes me think, you know, we got to get some more progress going for next month. So I'll take a stab at some of those ones. So if I can move on to the training proposal from Paula Forbes. So a couple of the items here listed on ours is, you know, for under training, we have board training on diversity, equity, inclusion, and then we have board training on our roles versus administrative roles. And those are a couple of the findings that we have opportunities to improve on. So I do know that, let's see which one this one is. I do know that an initial proposal was shared, you know, with the board, and that's what's in your board packet. And then I think maybe even as of today, Randy, we got a slightly revised proposal. So I don't know, was the revised proposal emailed out to everyone or not yet?
I sent it to you, Dan, because I don't know if it was too late to get it into the board packet, but
Sure.
I can forward it on. And I can speak to it if you'd like me to.
Yeah, go ahead. Randy.
Well, when this one came out, we saw the sticker price and we were, well, this is kind of a little bit high for our budget. So we able to I talked with Paula and she did bring it down to 50,000 instead. So that works in our budget. And then what we did is we took some of the areas off. So for instance, the board training went from 2 to 1. And then there's a couple of check-in times. So we looked at some and she's going to roll over a portion of that into the next year then. So it's not just a 1-year training, which would be great for everybody and staff too, is that will be more of a 2-year program. So we'll do about 50 this year with 25 next. So the budget or the proposal was reduced to kind of skim down a few things and bring it down to that dollar amount. Basically, all this stuff will be covered, but not all in one chunk. It'll be split over 2 years. So she kind of prioritized because Cecilia and Kate worked and gave her all the information that was shared for her to really put this program together. And she prioritized based on that. And then talking with us what was really kind of the items that were more of a need right away. So that is what we would tackle this year. And then some of the other areas following back would be for next year. So all the stuff in this proposal will be done, but just some is this year, some will be following.
I like that it's not one and done.
Yeah,
just because so many things at school are,
right.
just the nature of school.
And we have
I
new
think
staff
that's
too,
good.
so
Mhm.
year to year, so it's nice to continue.
Yep.
Mhm.
But this might be a good thing. Like there's some trainings that, address things right now, and then there's something that always probably either need to be refreshed, so maybe moving this into a more continuous. I could see budgeting this every year for,
It might, yeah.
ongoing.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that because I think one of I had a chance, Cecilia, myself, I think Kate and Steve had a chance to catch up with Paula and one of her team members. I'm blanking on the name, but I just did a video call together with them. And one of their concerns was that we just, as a board, check the box under training and done, right? So that's not their intent at all. They want to make sure that we are, bought into actually, improving ourselves as a board, right? And improving the school and improving the students, relationship together with us and with the teachers and all of that. So there's a lot that goes into this. I don't want to kind of nickel and dime it, but I did agree with Randy's effort, if you will, to kind of say, how can we make this a little more cost effective for us? Because that's a big portion of our budget. I will share with you that our authorizer, so Liz Wynn, has offered to give us $5,000 of this. She didn't know at the time what it would cost, but has offered $5,000. So she's very much supportive of this effort together with us to help improve the school. So I think that's a good sign. I think this is moving in the right direction. I'd like to see us, kind of agree to move forward on this one. I have it listed. I was looking to see if I have it under decision section. I thought I did, but I don't see it again unless I missed something. So it looks like under the DEI section, I do have approved training proposals. So is there any other questions? The idea was that we would get started soon. I don't know that we have to agree tonight on exactly the date for the board training, but I think it would be great after we have our discussion about maybe potentially addition of new board members to then agree on what the training date would be so that we could include more if we in fact agree to add more board members to get better value for us. So August, September, something like that would probably be among the first times that we would do it as a board, whereas the staff, Randy, you guys could choose when's the most appropriate time for you guys. Other questions?
So a couple observations. I mean, there's a lot here, which is good. And the fact that we're probably looking at something probably a little less the first year, but multi-year, that is actually great because that was one of my comments. Is training, I like the concept, but it becomes check the box. Because if it's not built into the training to make whatever you're training a habit, then in a year, we will even forget how to spell some of these things. So multi-year is good, so that'll help. But I'd like to continue working with Paula to design something that incorporates as part of the outcomes, something that actually keeps it in front of us as a board and in front of staff. So, and I'm not even, these are not specific suggestions, but in other trainings I've had, and I'm not saying I even like some of these, but they'll have, some sort of project, journaling, extensive activity outside of the school, and it just becomes more of a habit. Because if we do this, I guarantee you $50,000, it will all be well done. We will all feel great about it. And next school year, we'll forget what happened. In fact, in one, I can't even remember, one of the surveys, one of the observations is, we still need to continue to work on communications and culture. And this does not, kind of addresses culture, but it does not. Culture is a long-term, subtle thing that you have to work on. And another thing this kind of touches on, but really doesn't, is the concept of leadership. And leadership is what drives culture. So if you don't drive the leadership and have that person, by the way, I'm looking at you, Randy, leadership that drives the culture of this organization, and they're all subtle things. They're not going to be things like huge initiatives. We're going to need to all of a sudden change all our curriculum. I'm talking about very subtle things, something as simple as, learning every student's name and pronouncing it correctly. I mean, really it comes down to that. Names that you would normally read and you cannot pronounce because we're not familiar with that particular nationality. So I'd like for Paula or whoever we bring in to take it down to the next level. This is good, by the way. I'm not saying this is not good, but I still see it as very, I don't want to use the word superficial. It's still kind of at that high surface level. And I don't know what it'll be. I mean, there'll be conversations we'll have to have and continue to have with Paula and some of the people she works with.
And I think you bring up a good point, because the first year, you don't know what your staff knows. You're kind of
Yeah,
doing more of an overview, but then the following year, we get really down and get into it more, specifically, which I think is great to continue something like this.
so keep that in mind. I mean, it falls better into perhaps our budget, but I don't see or feel the long-term connection just yet. I think the elements are here. I think there are a lot of great suggestions here, and I certainly support the training. But I've been in a lot of corporate training, and you end up preaching to the choir and move on to something else. We need real outcomes.
I'm happy to hear that, Jeff. I think that was one of our key points of the discussion. And I think maybe why you see these 5 bullet point items as some of the outcomes that we're open to, because it's easy to just do the training, right? And then pick it off and move on. So I think I'd like to make a motion to approve the revised one, which Randy, I know we didn't email out to everyone, but that's.
I did.
Okay. But that's the 50,000 one, and I have not reviewed exactly what the reduced scope was. Are you able to kind of quickly summarize what that reduced scope would be for us versus the 75,000 one, which everyone saw?
And while you look at that, that's a great idea. You just mentioned metrics, Dan.
Can we get that up on
The metric should not be, we finished the training. The metric has to be something deeper than that. So,
And that was exactly what they said, Jeff. And I had a chance to listen to them both say that they don't want to just give us the training and then move on to the next school, right? I mean, they really want to see some changes happen. And so I think that's exactly what we're saying. We want the same, right? We're genuine. And they only want to really work together with us if we are genuine, right? We really want to see us getting better. So as a school.
so you sent it email? Got so many windows open.
I know.
I guess one question maybe for Jeff, Maggie, and Cody. We made the assumption offline, 75,000 was a bit much just because it looked like a big number. I mean, we can keep the original scope if we think we can afford the 75. The initial request was, can we reduce that down a little bit, because that takes such a big portion of Randy's budget. Right off the bat for one item, if you will. It's an important item, but it's a big ticket. So that's up to us to decide. We could leave the scope at 75 or the revised one at 50. I just wanted to know if we could understand. I haven't had a chance to read through what was reduced to get it down to 50.
I just sent it to Amanda so she can put it up, and then the board members have it.
So-
Basically,
When
Yeah.
Randy just explained it, my thought was it has been kind of altered so that we would get 50,000 worth this year with the next portion for 25 or adjusted for the following year. So we weren't really gonna lose anything. It was just gonna be readjusted and spread out differently. Is that right?
And I can kind of share,
Okay.
so basically, one of the goals is all school professional development using insights discovery. So let's put to the side, that could be next year. The board governance and leadership development reduced to 1 training and do 2 check-in coaching sessions instead of having 2 trainings. The equity learning series for board and staff, combining the 2 will help too, instead of having 2 separate costs, picking that trainings together. And then development of implementation of a school-wide anti-bias protocol. One suggestion, and she said we can put that into next year then, because she thinks it's more important that we hit the special education, professional development training, given the information she gave. So one option for the anti-bias protocols, she's doing a a statewide conference that we could send some staff to instead of doing the whole training with our staff.
And we didn't talk about the student portion, but if you scroll down just a little bit, Amanda, there's a student one on there, and she recommended that we keep that as well, and I agree. So this is specifically all the students discuss what she's calling a reset the culture, climate, improve trust between students and staff. And that was on the original proposal, so she's asking that we keep that one, and I think that that's a good keep, so.
I think we're keeping the big parts of it, which is good, but then also just kind of coordinating, kind of lumping some things in together to get a bigger bang for our buck.
Well, what I'm kind of thinking. But I haven't had a whole ton of time to completely think about this, but so it sounds like we're gonna do 50 this year and 25 of what we thought for this year next year. But then we may want to continue and do 50 each year. The, you know, the first half of next year is the second part here, and then, or maybe 25 each year, but if it was, I think we really need to see how this first year goes, and then make a plan for future. I think I'd like the idea of staying with the same person because they have our history and they start to learn our history in our area. So I think I like that idea of making this a multi-year and a reoccurring multi-year thing.
Can I make a motion to approve the $50,000 version contract? So someone who can second that one?
I will second.
So we're still open for discussion, I guess. Any further discussion on the 50?
So who's had these conversations? Randy, Kate, Steve? Okay. And you,
Randy,
Dan?
were you in? Yeah, I was in a call. It was a virtual call. I couldn't, I think everyone was virtual, but it was, I think, Cecilia, Kate, Steve, myself, and then Paula, and someone from her team. I can't recall her name right now. All called in. Randy, were you in on that one too? Or was that before you came? That was, I think, slightly before you came in. Yeah. So I mean, go ahead, Jeff.
No, I was just thinking on a go forward basis. I mean, some of this, not all of it, I mean, it involves specifically the board. Should we have more board contact employer design in this also, or how is that gonna work? I mean, I'm not
following the
volunteering
question.
necessarily, I'm not volunteering necessarily, but is there a subcommittee of the board that also needs to get involved? Because we're talking about training, board training.
Would that kind of fall under the governance committee?
Well, that's just it. But we have no one in the
That would
government.
make sense if it did. And then we get more of a detail of what does that in-service or what does that time look like? What is she covering? Get more of an agenda or syllabus of what that training is, and then share with the governance committee. And they can bring it to the board.
And that's probably an issue too, is since we don't have anyone on the governance committee leading that effort, I don't know how we're gonna manage it. And we don't need to solve it today. It's just, that's a good reminder that it is governance, probably was meant to be. And we might have to do something else.
Yeah, Jeff, I guess I was just thinking through, right? It's all relatively new for us, but my thought was I would just kind of take over right now, at least for the interim, the governance piece. And then once we decide as a board, how many or who do we add as extra additional board members would be a good time to kind of reach out to all of them and say, let's start aligning on the training plan. So I'm thinking it's going to be in the next couple of months. It's not going to be this month or probably even next, because we still need to get the board to a spot where, my own opinion, I don't think it makes sense to train the four of us when we're putting so much investment in. Let's wait till we have a few more board members here to get the best return here.
No, agreed.
So I don't want to rush it, but I like the idea of signaling to Paula and her team that we're very much interested in moving forward here with something, and it's just a matter of working out the timing that works for everybody. Other questions or comments? If not, can I do a roll call vote? Cody, sorry to put you first every time, but are you okay? Yes or no?
Yes.
Maggie,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
and Dan is also a yes. So that's a 4 yes. So So we look forward to working together with you, Paula, when we get everything sorted out here. And Randy, that gives you permission to go ahead and get started with the staff stuff as well. And then it sounds like we're combining some staff and board things together, so keep us in the loop. Let's see. Second. So I think I think this C is pretty much B. Maybe that's where I was seeing two different ones. So my expectation and hope is that both governance and here it's called discrimination, but I would call it, she called it equity training and development and anti-bias protocol for our school. So I think this is going to knock off quite a few of these, not knock off, it's not the right word, but get us started on this, this training. So unless anyone has any other topics on that one, I'll move on to D, questions for C. So D, we had continued sharing the outcome of the investigation with the public, and this one was meant to be a workshop item. Apologies if anyone came to the workshop last minute. We kind of decided to scrap the workshop based on some changes that happened. So this was going to be an item. What I did do is I emailed the board a draft document that was prepared by Ms. Daj before she stepped out. And I guess I'd just like to see where your thoughts are on that one. That one was an attempt to try to prepare some sort of information that could be shared with the public. And I do know that that was emailed to our lawyers, and I have not yet seen a response back from the lawyers as to whether or not they're comfortable sharing the document as it was written up, which is why I personally didn't advise that we include it in the board packet just yet. And otherwise, I would have been happy to include that explicitly in the public board packet. But so did you guys get a chance to look through that one? It's hopefully it's under our workshop. No. Okay, so it was sent out as a separate email. It was multiple pages. We don't have to talk through it in specifics here, but I'm interested in kind of in your thoughts of, is this in the right direction? Anything you'd like to change? It goes back to the kind of the idea that we wanted to be more proactive and share as much as possible with the community.
Did you say we haven't heard back from the lawyer?
No, I haven't seen, I did talk to Cecilia last week and she was going to check again, but I have not heard back. The note was sent to Laura and her team just to see if she could kind of review it. So I think we're still waiting for that feedback to see if she gets a chance to comment on. So I would feel much more comfortable sharing it with the public once it's been vetted by our lawyers.
Yeah, and I'll follow up with Laura tomorrow and see where we're at with that.
Okay, so I guess this is for the board. Any questions, comments, concerns about this approach? I think the initial discussion we had last month was we were going to prepare this document, we're going to have it checked by the lawyer, and then the board was going to review it and then agree to share it. So since it's not quite ready yet, just any other comments or questions that you feel, or else reply back to my email with any concerns or questions. Okay.
Yeah. I'd like to hear what the lawyer has to say.
Okay. All right, then we do have the improvement plan. So the authorizer improvement plan, item E, was slightly modified. Randy, I think you helped prepare some updates after you took over.
Just a few, and I did, this is the most updated version that you have.
Okay.
I heard back from Liz on some wordage in there, like instead of allegation that we use the word findings. There's this little minor little typo type things. So this is the updated version here then, Dan.
So it's a chance for comment from the board. Go ahead,
Some of
Randy.
the things we added were underneath like the trainings that we would be doing. It is, let me find it. It is page 7 under status, address issues of potential discrimination. So that was some of the stuff we put in there. That's been added since the original version, I believe, that Ms. Dodge brought last month. So we worked on that part as with what we did since then. So everything else is pretty much as was, and that's the area that we needed to finish.
Everyone okay? Okay. Then the next one up is the bylaw discussion, and I'll be honest with everyone, I was kind of hoping that we'd have a little bit further recommendation at this point, and we don't have it just yet. So what I'd like to do, if you guys are okay with it, is just follow along with me. We have number of board members going forward, legal requirements, rules of officer positions, and authorizers recommendations. So just to kind of paraphrase, we had a little bit of a discussion on this at our last month's meeting. I would like to propose to the board that we have a set of policies that right now govern us, and we're talking about changing things, right? But after some time thinking about it, I think we need to kind of fulfill the policy that we have in place and then make proposals for the change. I'm not ready tonight to make a proposal for the change. I think I'd like to give some more thought about what that's looking for and bring that to our next board meeting. And then that would be our August board meeting, where I would make a recommendation, or whoever wants to help would be happy to work together with me. We make a recommendation on the bylaw changes based on the recommendations for officer positions, any of the authorization recommendations, and then our legal requirements. So those things kind of need to be combined into the bylaw proposal change. And then I think we have, 2 readings for the board, and then we also have to get it approved by half of the administration and staff. So it's going to take a few months to get that done. So in the meantime, what I'd like to do is, when we talk about number of members going forward, this is a very small group, and you can see every single one of us is very important. Whereas if we have 9, if you miss one, it's maybe okay. But right now, I would say this is not ideal for me calling in remotely, and then also for our group being so small. So I would like to see us get back to a little bit higher number. What that number is made up of, I think we can talk about in the bylaws. But for the meantime, I think we have 3 open teacher positions that make sense to fill. I know, Randy, I don't know if you want to talk about that now, or if you want to talk about it when we go through additional board member seatings and discussion. I'm fine with either one. But I'd like to, I know Randy has some recommendations together with Kate on, some board members that would like to that we could kind of select as a board, because these are filling kind of vacant positions as opposed to running another election. So I think that's going to help us in the near term get our numbers up so that we don't kind of struggle through these meetings. So does that in general kind of make sense to everyone, that we come back with the bylaw recommendation in August? Apologies, we didn't get it in July. So we'll get that in August, and then the change would happen probably in the early, hopefully, if our change is implemented, it would happen in the early part of this school year, which I still think is a reasonable timing. Concerns, comments, questions?
So is the biggest issue the number? Is that what you're saying?
No, I think if you take each one individually, so like there are some concerns about the teachers, board members, conflict of interest, if you will, inherently by making either reviewing of their superior. So let's say reviewing Randy's, performance. That's a difficult one for them. There's a few different positions that put the teacher board members have a very difficult line to walk, if you will. So the recommendation has been, perhaps not have as many teacher board members, and perhaps not have a teacher board member as chair. Is recommendations that will come out once we get a chance to share some of these in further detail. So there's a few different recommendations that are kind of common or best practices for other schools that we could look to see if we can implement at ours. I think the number, Jeff, the number question that I have is, like right now we have 4 members, and I feel like, yeah, always every vote counts, but now even more so, it's extremely, like one vote can really sway so much. Whereas if we had 9, I feel more comfortable with a few votes here or there swaying on the different sides of it. So I don't know that 9's a magical number, Jeff. I don't have an ideal number in mind, but I feel 4 is too small because if one person misses it, it's just getting crazy small for us to have a meeting. So I feel better having a larger number, and then it's just a question of who are those people? Are they community members, parents, teachers? What does that one look like? So that I don't have haven't fully thought out the recommendation, but I'd like to give that some more time and thought and come back with a recommendation. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so indirectly. I was just trying to figure out, even the conversation we had last meeting about priority is like, for instance, if we talk about future recommendations, we also decide, well, do we build up the board to a particular number and constituency to make the vote on those recommendations? Like, for instance, we're down to 5. We clearly are short teacher representation. So then the priority would be, okay, boost the teacher representation so we can discuss all those other recommendations. And just looking at what should we do first, and it seems like the numbers is the first question before we get the other recommendations on Handbook.
I think you're right, Jeff. I think one of the things, right, we're tasked to follow the policies that we have in place. And I think that kind of resounded with me over this past weeks. We have a policy in place, which means we need to fill, we need to kind of fill. And I know we were debating when and how and if and all that. And I think we do have some flexibility there because it's not clear. But I do feel like we have an obligation to kind of fill some of those open positions. And then with that board, come back and kind of challenge the way we've set ourselves up. I feel like that's the most fair and above board way to do this, as opposed to it could be like right now, it could be construed. We have one teacher sitting there, right? And I know you're a board member, Maggie, but you also have a teacher hat. And it could be construed that the rest of the board bullied, the teacher representatives out. And I don't want that to be the case. I want it to be done, as open as possible. So I feel like putting in a few, especially if teachers are raising their hand saying they want to help with the board and help the school, I feel like we should give them the opportunity to do so. So that's kind of where I'm at. But let's take that specific one and the specific names, Randy, at board member seating of E, if that's okay. Other questions or concerns? So right now it's kind of the plan, if you will. So we have some more. But what I'll probably do then is I'm out next week, but then the following week I may call out to see who wants to help. If anyone wants to sit in, we can do some more discussions and brainstorming on this governance piece. All right. Last questions, comments on DEI? A lot more to come. I would say we're just getting the plans in place. So for those of you following at home, we definitely know we need to do more here, and we will. So it's coming. Are we okay to move on to discussion, section 14? Everyone doing all right?
Yep.
Okay. So director work plan review, I did put, I don't know, Randy, this might have been a miscommunication, but when I went through it on Sunday, I saw the links that were shared as good. These are some of the surveys, but I think the question that came up from Jennifer last month, if I recall, was on the specific work plan that Ms. Dodge helped with. I think that's what she was looking for. So that's what I had intended to be in there. But it's good that we got the survey results out. I know I did get some emails from parents asking if they could see those survey results. So here's some links for folks. But, and I know Jennifer's not here tonight, but any other questions on the work plan?
So
Or on the survey?
we cover it next month then, when Jennifer's back, or?
Yeah, we sure can. I think if I recall, you guys help me, but I think Jennifer was concerned that the work plan was created by the administration and she hadn't seen it yet, and she wanted Randy to get some time to look through that. Is that the correct paraphrase of kind of where she was at? I put
That's
her
what I-
name down because I think that was her concern. Yeah.
That's what I thought, right?
That's what I remember. Yeah.
So I guess Randy, any,
And these 2 items in here, I think Ms. Dodge put these in the folder before I started, so I think that's how they ended up here.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
I think she wanted to share those out.
And I did ask that we share them. So I was hoping that they would be put in last month's notes because that's when we talked about them, but it's okay if they're in this one, as long as they're out in some notes. So I think the question would be to you, Randy. Did you get a chance to review that, your working plan, and are you feeling comfortable with that, or any changes?
I have, yes, I'm comfortable with that.
Okay,
I've been
So
working
then
on
I
that,
think-
and actually put together a form for reporting out on that, so.
so then it would be, I can reach out to Jennifer next month and see if either she can follow up with Randy, or if there's anyone else who has any questions Okay. I have board goals as a very generic topic here, and I think that was one of those cadence sort of things, but to be fair, we haven't really talked about it too much. I would say right now, I'm happy, this is my own opinion, I'm happy if we make some serious progress against the your, dashboard, Randy, and then together with the board dashboard on the DEI items, which includes a lot. So I feel like those are big ones. Expansion is, of course, a very, very big one. So I feel like between the strategic plan that you have, Randy, the DEI that we're working on the board dashboard, and expansion, those are three pretty big goals. Is there anything we're missing?
Maybe that governance piece, that committee kind of might be a goal of getting that started. There's a lot there.
So you're right. I had included that in my mind under the DEI piece, because like forming the governance board and then what does the governance committee do? In my mind is there, but yes, I could call it out separately too to emphasize it. Anything else, you guys? We're all part of the board here. Anything we're missing if we do those kind of bigger items?
Most of it.
It's a lot, but I don't want to miss anything. Okay. Then we had staff handbook, which I have red line edits. So I think last time, Jeff, I think you were right to point out that we just had the staff handbook, but we didn't have the red line edits. So now, Randy, you've got the red line edits in the board packet. So did anything come up now that we can see kind of the changes?
So from process, well, maybe this question for you, Maggie, is, does the staff look at it? Have they looked at it? Do
It was
they
available to the staff
Vote on it or what?
to look at and see what the red lines were.
So were there any comments or?
I wasn't, it was kind of open to everybody to send comments and to.
Right, and
make
so the only
suggestions.
things that happened after we had all the staff comments and took those into account. Then we sent it out to our HR consultant and our legal, and they did some edits in order to try and make it. More
Legal?
correct, legal, yeah, and legally, much more legally binding. Since then, it has been sent out, we have fees, which are their benefits, and they sent out, everybody has gotten a copy of the staff handbook, and a large number of people have already approved it, so they're, instead of getting a piece of paper, with, or 37 sheets of paper, and then they sign and turn it back in, they read it, they got it online, they continue to have availability to it, and
it's an assignment we have to have done by August 18th, I think.
something like that, and then. I
By
think,
mid-August,
yeah,
the
and
staff
send
has
it
to have
people.
gone through it and
Signed off.
signed off on it. Yep. I just saw a couple editing things. Do you want me to email you or say them now?
You can send them to Emma.
Send them to Emma. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they will. In the future, yes, they will get corrected. I don't
Okay.
know. I think we
Well-
might have some mistakes.
So, I mean, it's nothing, I didn't notice it, just some spelling and some, yeah. Yeah, that
I
would,
think that might have been just a red line.
and I'm sure.
Yeah, no, but we do want to get that corrected,
Okay.
especially when we're gonna post it publicly
Yes.
online. It's
Yes.
one thing to have a mistake. for the teachers,
Yes.
But, as teachers, it always drives me crazy when we make
Randy, I did have a question. On one of the things we wanted to make sure we cleaned up was the paid time off, and what was happening was people were in the past, they would renew their contracts, which is different now, but they would renew their contracts, and then we did have examples where people left and tried to collect the full PTO for the rest of the year. Is that, I see prorated in here now, is that how we're capturing that? So it's like up to you, Randy, to say, okay, here's how much you worked of your next year? Or how is that gonna work?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, it's-
Sorry. Yeah, that language was cleaned up, and legal helped us do that in a way that was fair.
Legal.
Okay,
Okay,
okay, good. Yep. Yeah, and that's all I'm asking is for it to be fair, not advantage to employee or employer, right? So just fair. Yeah, okay, good. Any other
So-
questions on the handbook?
Yeah, so
Yep,
there
go ahead.
was one provision, I mean, a lot of it, I'll leave to, how the administration wants to take care of it, but like PTO, basically says you're limited to taking PTO only for a certain number of reasons, and the rest is requires executive director approval. I mean,
And some of that was in there and it just was reworded again down, but some of it is, yes. There's currently right now, if we're kind of in a situation where people can just take off and then they let us know. So sometimes it puts us in a really difficult situation without pre-approval. We want to make sure that we don't have X amount of, like, if too many teachers would happen to take a specific Friday off, now we're not able to cover classes because we don't either have enough sub pool, whatever. So it allows us at least a little opportunity to kind of manage it as the limit of how many people may be off on a specific day. So that we make sure students aren't suffering because we can't cover classes. Or it's just a study hall.
It wasn't the pre-approval I'm concerned with, it's the reasons for PTO.
Oh,
Because it
And that
basically
came from-
said, it says. If you're gonna take it not for these following reasons, and it's reasons kind of like emergencies, right? Death in the family, illness and all that stuff. Then the rest of it requires specific approval, not notice, approval. So I just want to make sure that number one, you haven't created a situation where people are gonna look at it and go, oh my gosh, I pretty much have to have a family member dying before I could request. It had a sense of, no, we don't want you to take PTO at all, except for these 5 reasons.
And
Because it had to go to you otherwise.
a lot of that came from legal. As far as the wording of it, but we want people to use their days if they have them. It's just that there's. We just have to make sure, you know what I mean?
And part of it was to encourage people to take their vacations during non-student days as opposed to going on a trip in the middle of
Right.
February when there's all school days, to
Right.
try to,
And-
now it doesn't mean that if there's a good reason, if your
It's a
sister's
honeymoon
getting
or something,
married in
yeah.
Hawaii and it's happening and they're, and they
Well, that
didn't
wasn't
follow
one of the
the
stated reasons.
Well,
That
we
wasn't,
talked
that's just
Yeah.
it.
But that's the thing,
But that's just it. I'm looking at this language and I'm thinking,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I'm not sure I even want to ask. Because the 5 or 7 things you listed were so obvious family emergency type thing. And then I know you're gonna be reading. It's not going to be, but I don't want people reading this and thinking, oh my gosh, I can't even take PTO this year. Unless it's super, I have an issue. So anyway, read that through. It was just a feeling I got that I don't want people thinking I can't take PTO.
and we did talk about it as a staff,
Yeah.
at a staff meeting. I do think it would be nice to revisit it in August with everybody, just, because,
And there's gonna be a new process
Yeah.
because with
We're
ease,
part of training.
we're
so-
covering that anyway, PTO, so.
Yeah, it could be part of training, so.
Because there's a different system with ease of how they would request days and stuff like that, so it'll be for that.
So another piece is, are there going to be stipends for advising clubs and activities?
Yeah.
Is that still in there? or did I
It's not
miss
in
that?
the staff handbook, but we're gonna have a new system where they're gonna have a contract which says you'll do these things and record it this way and.
It's just in a different handbook.
well,
It'll be
it's just a contract.
It's a contract. We're gonna pull it separate out of the handbook because there's a lot of confusion as to who should get what stipend when.
Okay.
So now we're just gonna spell out, if you're getting a stipend, there will be an agreement. This is what you will do.
Yeah, I know we have a
and then
lot of
this is how
confusion
much
with
money
that.
you'll get.
Yeah, okay.
So I'll make sure we didn't cut it out.
No, it's not gone. It's just, it was too confusing in the handbook and we had a lot of, confusion all year long in terms of who should be getting what and what they have to do to get that money.
Okay, and I might, like Maggie, I might forward you just a couple. I don't know, not typos, but little things that. You may want to just polish up. Okay, thanks.
We good on the
Yeah.
handbook?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, yep, good discussion. So now we move decision. So item 15 on the agenda, making some good progress here. So I actually have, this is the one I was looking for earlier. So approve external board and staff training dates and
Dan?
topics.
We
Yep.
do maybe 6-minute break, come back at 7:30. I'm not
Yeah.
desperate for one, but it seemed like a good spot to pause. before we get into
I'm
the-
okay with that. So Cody made a motion, I'll second it. We motion to break at 8:25, or sorry, 7:25 Central Time. And 5-minute break, are you saying, Cody?
I think so.
You guys okay with that? Cody, yes? Maggie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Jeff? Dan,
Yes.
yes. Okay, so give us a 5-minute break. I'm gonna put it on mute. Thank you. Hey, Maggie, are you able to hear me? Maggie, can you hear me? Thumbs up, yeah. Okay. I can see we're gathering, but I think somebody might need to unmute you. Can't quite hear you guys.
We're not talking yet.
Okay,
Yes. Okay, we're
I hear you
good.
now. Hear you now.
Whatever. If we're good with the motion, then-
Are we okay to reconvene at 7:32 Central? Okay, very good. So let's move on to decision. I was just talking through how 15A, external board and staff training dates and topics. So I think we covered the topics. We got the governance piece, we got the equity piece. So I think that's going to be fantastic. So thanks for the support there. On the dates, I would ask that we wait just a little bit because I think I'd like to talk through the potential of the board members and then bring everyone in if we can do that together. So can we move to the NTH contract? This is from expansion. So I have Hinton and Eng. So
Sure, I can give kind of like the 2-minute summary of where we're at, and I can go ahead and make the motion. Since the last board meeting, we interviewed 3 potential owners representatives, went through the process, the expansion committee made the decision, and we'll be recommending NTH to be the owner's rep for MSA for the expansion project. Because of the holidays and kind of condensed time frame, we received the services agreement from NTH just recently, sent it to outside counsel, we've reviewed it. We've actually gotten, I mean, even the past day and a half, a lot of communications going back and forth. But we didn't feel comfortable that our attorney had like one more shot at taking all the language and everything everyone agreed to and putting in a nice finalized agreement for both for this group. Also, we're missing Jennifer, and we wouldn't have had, I mean, literally, we've been talking like the last 2 days into this morning. So to be fair for the board to have a chance to review all the documents and probably even our emails, so you can see what topics were at issue. And frankly, NTH was very gracious in agreeing with most of it and really clarifying how they would be paid. And a lot of it happened, frankly, in our favor. So that's all good. But in order to make sure that we continue to move the project along, but also have a couple, extra days for our attorney to finish the final draft, send it back to NTH with their final look and signature. That's gonna take another, couple days. It'll be quick. We don't anticipate any controversy or any issue. But because, the board meeting kind of came more quickly and we wanted to be able to move forward. So I will make a motion to, essentially what we're gonna do is agree to hire NTH as a consultant for 1 month, really to cover their time for the month. While we finish up on this agreement. And really all it is both parties understand that we are going to enter into this agreement and that we just needed time to dot all the i's, cross all the t's. And because we're a public organization, we of course need to do that before we do any work. So the kind of the stopgap would be to hire them for a month as a consultant, pay their monthly retainer, which is the same as what we negotiated for the rest of the contract. That'll allow us to have, and we have already scheduled weekly meetings every Tuesday. The first one tomorrow, to move things along. So we don't want to hold that back. And if we don't have enough time, because a lot of people are still traveling with the summer, I think we can be comfortable that we've covered ourselves for the next 30 days. And we don't have to call a special meeting just for this. And by then, hopefully, all of us will be back, including Jennifer, and we'll have a chance to really review these documents. As you well know, this is probably one of our larger agreements, aside from signing the documents for Building B. So I think it's pretty important that we just take a moment for us to have all the documents at hand, the final documents, before we do the final vote. So why don't I go ahead and make the motion, and then Dan, you can ask if anyone else has any questions, and Kate can certainly also chime in if there are other questions that I haven't covered. So my motion is to engage NTH as a consultant for MSA on its expansion project for a fee of $19,700 for the next 30 days. And that's their retainer fee that we've negotiated for the rest of the project. And that during the 30 days, MSA and NTH will conduct planning meetings and will complete the terms of the agreement whereby NTH will serve as MSA's owner's representative for the expansion project. And I can give this to you, Amanda. Sorry about that. So once again, it's engaging them for 30 days at the regular fee, and we will nail down the final language, and we will continue to plan for the next month. So that's the motion.
I'll second it.
Any questions? Literally, things have come together literally in the last 5 days.
Okay, I just want to make sure our dates are. So we'd be entering it starting tomorrow morning in theory for day
Yes.
1.
Yes,
So then it would expire the 18th of August, and our board meeting is the 15th of August.
correct. We did
Okay.
look at the calendar to make sure we
Just-
fit with 2 days in between.
Okay.
And normally the agreement was set to be signed tonight, but like I said, 30 days, that should give us time to meet in August. Any other thoughts, questions, Dan? I know you've been in conversations with probably Randy and Kate too separately. You've seen the emails go back and forth. Jim's worked hard on, he did a great job this weekend, so we've really moved quickly in the time we've been.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute, so I gotta hold my
that's
space
okay.
down. Maggie, any questions, comments?
No, I like the 30-day thing. Just to
So-
show where- I think that's great.
Yeah, good. So Jeff, in my mind, I am in a slightly different space, but only because I had the opportunity to see so many of those emails, right? So I saw, and you're selling yourself short. You did a fantastic job of protecting the school with a bunch of, good questions that I really appreciate. And I think we owe Jeff a great deal of thanks and gratitude for that, because I think these were good catches. So between Jeff and Jim, I'm perhaps even more confident that we could even go ahead with the full contract. So I think the reason that in the next level down is, I think, what you're proposing, Jeff, in my mind, which is the 1 month, right? So if we lose nothing insofar as NTH sees that we're still, we're on team NTH, we're going forward, and nothing is really lost, then I can completely support this particular recommendation, because it gives the board a chance to kind of take a look through the final document, if you will. But I have also seen the fact that, NTH came back and said they agreed to all of our concerns and questions. So I feel like we're not really gaining so much because we already have the agreement. We just have the document. Which it's always better if we can see the document, right? But
Yeah, no, actually, that is it. It's form over function, no doubt. I mean, so we're a public entity. If we get audited and they go, wait a minute, you voted on an agreement that you didn't even have in hand, was not fully negotiated, was not fully documented, had not been signed, and you voted on it. They'd be right. We'd be voting kind of contingently on the document. I really don't think we ought to go down that path if we don't need to. So that's why I thought up, let's do the 30 days. It covers everyone rather than us voting on things that are, I know nothing's going to change, but I have no document to show you that this is exactly what we're agreeing to.
understood. So I
I
think,
mean, and oddly enough, you're right. I mean, if we cobble together like 5 documents, all the information is there, no doubt. We're
Yeah.
not going to change any of that. It's just that I think our auditors would love to see contracts that are on one document signed when it's done, rather than piecemealing it together. And then they're going to say, wait a minute, you voted on August or July 18th on something that you signed 3 days later or 10 days later. And is it still legal? Yes. Do we want to do that? Not if we don't have to.
understood. So I had 2 more comments. One is I want to thank the other, the other potential, builders and contractors. I think we spent, as an expansion committee, we spent a fair bit of time because there was a lot of solid efforts. And I think we would have done well with any one of them. So I just want to say thanks to the other folks that kind of came and put their name in the ring for this, because I think they each brought different strengths. The expansion committee spent some time trying to figure out who we feel is the best fit with a combination of our needs versus the cost and all the things piled in. So NTH was the recommendation, and I just want to say thanks to everyone else. And then the last question I have for Kate, I know you had a chance to catch up with NTH. So this is specifically, did they have any comments on the 1 month idea, or did we not get a chance to bring that up to them yet?
I have not talked to them about that yet, but I will, I'll talk to them tomorrow, probably before we meet. And if they have any significant concerns about that, I'll get back with you, and maybe if they are not comfortable with that, then we can consider whether we need a special board meeting just to approve the rest of the language. They've been really agreeable with us so far, so I think that we will be fine with the 1 month. And I mean, realistically, we would be, I don't see a scenario where we wouldn't continue to finish this contract. I mean, everyone's been very agreeable at this point.
Okay. Any further discuss? Thank you, Kate. Any further discussion, concerns? Then I will put it to a vote. So Cody, you're up first.
Yes.
In favor? Maggie?
Yes.
Yes. Jeff?
Yes.
And Dan is also yes. So well done, expansion team. Thanks for moving us on the big next step forward. That's exciting. So NTH for a month, and then hopefully we'll get the documents sorted and it'll be there for the next few years, few years, right? So, all right. We have a few different, so item C, D, and E. We have board recorder, board secretary, and additional board member seatings. So board recorder, Randy, you and I talked a little bit about maybe having Amanda help out in the meantime. This was a proposal that we came up with at the last month's meeting. I don't know if you have anything to add there other than, should we see how it goes for the next months or 2?
Yes, until we get some more board members seated, we can always look at that secretary position then once we get more members on the board. Thank you, Amanda.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Amanda. We appreciate your help. And I also like I'm watching it on my computer here, so I get to see the screen, what we're sharing. The secretary assignment is kind of tied into the additional board member seating, because Randy, if I recall, we have a potential, so we have three teacher board member spots open. Did one of them say they'd be willing to help with secretary? Do I recall that? So maybe if you could, if I could turn it over to you.
Well, we have 4 seats because we haven't.
We have 3 teachers and there's a parent for
Right.
Eric.
Yeah, I'll take the parent one. I'll take the parent one after Randy, maybe.
So, yeah, we have 3 teachers that have expressed interest in being on the board. And I could say that one is Wendell, who actually finished second to the person who did not get seated and did not sit on the board. So he would take, if we would vote him in, he would take that 3-year spot. We have Teresa Ward, who's agreed to complete this current school year, and she's the one who said she would be the secretary. Is that correct, Kate? Or do we want to double check on
I'm
that?
not 100% sure.
think
but
that's what-
I think
I'll
she's a
verify
very
that,
good
but
secretary.
I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I'll double check with her first. And then we have DJ Johnson, who would take a position that was for 2 years.
What does he do?
He's a special education teacher.
Well, they did that.
Yeah, low diversity, we work with that, with positions.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Teresa
what
has a
I liked
final-
about, yeah, Randy brought that recommendation up earlier. We had a chance to catch up last weekend. And so I think it helps us fill this stopgap, if you will, in between what we need to fill right now. And it also is with teachers that are kind of putting their hands up and saying they're happy to help out. So I feel like I would like to make a motion that we put that in for the seating in the August timeframe, so that, you know, we can double check with those board members, but have them come and be seated in August. Any concerns, questions? Can I get a second? Go ahead,
Oh.
Cody.
You're making a motion?
Yeah, I would like the motion that the recommendations that Randy has of Wendell, Teresa, and was it DJ,
Yes,
Randy?
yes.
For the, I guess, the 3-year, the 1-year, and the 2-year terms.
I'll second that.
So further discussion or concern, questions?
So 2 questions. Have we sent out anything to the broader teacher community mentioning that we were looking for people that are interested in serving on the board? And then the second question is, I don't know how to handle this, but part of our discussion was if we did do that in terms of letting people know, should we not wait until school started so that, you know, we didn't catch people out in the summer and they didn't know about it? Because I certainly wouldn't want a teacher to come back and say, hey, I never heard about that. Who decided on these 3? I'm trying to be fair to those folks.
Yeah, Maggie, if I
Well,
recall,
and
Maggie, you and Cecilia, go ahead.
Yeah, but
It was. So we had
thank you.
2 vacancies before the school year ended. The 3rd vacancy came a day before the school year ended, so those people had already come forward
Yep.
at that point, so there was an awareness that there were open seats. And those 3 are the only 3 that stepped forward, to the best of my knowledge. So
At
there
the
was
time,
no
but there was
awareness.
there was an awareness, there was no.
So there's only 2 seats when it was
Right, yeah,
asked, but now there's 3
yeah,
seats.
2
but-
seats when it was asked, now there,
And 3 people came forward.
but no widespread emails since the 3rd.
And part of it is just timing, it's the worst time.
Right.
It's-
We also have potentially new teachers that may want to throw their hat in or.
Well,
Usually
but
not.
we have but there's they aren't eligible to be a board member until they've taught for, I can't remember how long it is in the contract.
Oh.
Yeah,
Or
I'm
the
not
hand.
sure, but I mean, if they were to have typically run in April, they would
Yes.
have taught here for a little
They would have
while.
taught here prior
But they
to
would
not
not be teachers here technically
until
They run,
September.
okay.
until September, because they wouldn't have started yet.
And
When we
also,
seat them.
and then also next spring, we'll have 2 teacher seats available for if anybody does want to run yet. So there still will be 2, if we continue with the same format,
yeah.
you know, whatever our bylaws do it.
Actually, before I go in this, could you fill us in on the parent piece? you
Yeah,
have?
sure. Yeah, I'm happy to. I think that's fair. So my thought is the parent one just came up within the past day or 2, right? Just recently. So I haven't had any more thought. And then other than I liked the procedure that we had last time when an open position came. I would like to kind of, have everyone or anyone reach out. So anyone who's watching as a parent member could reach out to, say, myself or anyone on the board and say you'd like to throw your name in. And then if we could have a small little blurb in the board packet saying, here's what I would like to do on the school board, and then please come to the meeting. So my proposal would be that we have a kind of a board election. So we have hopefully a few people that come and say, I would like to come and help. And they come up and speak. And I know in the past we had folks and we kind of said, hey, if you don't bother to show up, you kind of lose your opportunity to run for the board. So instead of doing an election, which is required when a term is ended, we have 2 years left on this parent one. So my proposal would be for this parent one in the August timeframe, a parent, and I'm happy to reach out to some that I think would do a good job. I think it doesn't have to be a prerequisite, but I think we're trying to strive for an even more diverse board. So that would be great, diverse in whatever that, phrase is, something where we can bring in some more diversity of thought, diversity of, whatever, fill in the blank of all the different. So there's a few things that I think would be great for our board to be in a better spot when we're done. But I would like for that, same as these teachers who are kind of raising their hand. I don't mind tapping on people's shoulders, but I want them to also want to be here because, you guys are coming every month and showing that you're here to help with the school. So my point and my proposal is that it'll be a board chosen one per our bylaws. We get to replace the person based on our best guess of who we think would do the board the best, fill in the holes where we need to. But I would recommend that we replace that person as soon as August. So together with the teacher board members, we may have as many as 4 new board members next month. And that's why I'm recommending also that we wait on this board training until we have those people in so we can check their calendars and have hopefully 8 or 9 people attend the training. So does that make sense?
Yeah, so you just remind me that, so if someone steps out and did not finish their term, the board has filled that position.
Yeah,
So
I
that,
remember
right,
doing
so
that.
that's
Yep,
true with
that's right.
Eric. Yeah, true with Eric, so he's in the middle of his term. Annie retired, she was in the middle of her term, because she had 1
1 year,
more
yeah,
year.
yeah.
So we would choose for her. Michelle's position was up.
Yep,
We had an election. That person was never seated,
correct.
so.
The year before, we seated someone
For the same.
as an interim and then held an election in October
Right,
to make that seat official. So we maybe to follow our own precedents, we should fill Annie and or
who am I missing? Sorry, Annie.
Sandy's positions. So those were
Right.
mid,
She was mid,
they were in the
Midterm.
middle.
okay,
We have a 1 year and a 2 year, and then the 3 year, if we follow what we did last year, we could seat them temporarily. Have an election. They're of course welcome to run again in that election. And then that would be an official elected fill-in.
But an interim until that time. That's what we did last.
and that's what you said, maybe I missed the interim, sorry.
No, that was not said, but that's what we did last time.
Yeah.
I'd be good with that, yeah, okay.
So if I remember, just because I agree with you, Jeff, and I think that's fair to think through each one as a separate circumstance, but with Wendell being the next highest vote getter, that also kind of made sense to me that would be, since we didn't
Well, and there
actually
was,
see.
I don't think there was the next highest vote getter last time.
The last time.
That's
yeah,
right.
there was one person and
Who
they
ran.
then,
And this time there were other people.
There was,
And then the
that's right.
second highest vote in this case, but last time there was no other.
Right.
Teachers run.
so we would be seating Wendell as the runner-up. Which is slightly different.
It's different, but you're coming up with that now? Or what? Or is there a rule or? are
There is no-
There's nothing in bylaw about runners up if the person can't.
I mean, that to me is a good reason why he should be considered definitely for the interim, no problem there. But to extend that without an election. I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. I haven't given that any thought, so. Because we've never had a runner-up situation having to fill in for someone who didn't eventually get seated. I mean,
Not that I know.
odd situation, right? Why would that happen? But
If we follow the precedents we set last year, I put them as interim and we'll do an election in October. What we waited till October because then,
Well, people could vote because they came back.
well, people came back and then teachers had time in September to figure out if they wanted to run.
The only thing I see
Well,
is, it's kind of like the person who did win almost withdrew.
Yep.
Because,
Yes,
right, because
They did.
they were never seated
right.
and they never took the spot, so it would go to default to
To the
whoever had
next
the next amount of votes, kind of, because it was an election, right?
Yeah.
And the only reason we didn't just,
From the race.
the only reason we didn't go through with that, and was it last month? Yeah, last month was because we had this whole question of what does the board want to look like, right? Had nothing to do with that particular race. It was, what do we want to do as a board? How many people do we want? What's the constituency, right? What board members? That's where it got confusing. So I guess we have a motion. We should, unless there's further discussion on that, we should vote on that one. But I'm hearing, Jeff, you may have a motion, or there may be one in there where you have an interim. And then we have 2 seatings to fill out the remainder terms. So. But we should finish, I think the procedure means we have to finish this discussion. So if you're, Cody, can I put this one to vote, which is 3-year?
Can you read the motion
two.
one more time?
It was the Wendell and Therese, Wendell for 3 years, Teresa for 1 year. And can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yes,
Okay, and then was it JD for?
DJ for 2.
DJ for 2 years. So that's the current motion, and let's finish that one out, and then we can discuss others if need be. So Cody,
Yes. Yes.
say yes.
So this is just okay.
What? No, we're voting on all 3.
All 3? Okay.
Or do we,
No, that's fine. I missed it because I was talking to Jeff. I apologize.
we're voting on all 3, right? That's what I just agreed to.
And I say yes.
Jeff?
No,
Tough one with the small crowd. I'm gonna say yes. So that's 3 to 1 in favor. So that puts us with, that's the teacher portion. Then the parent one, I don't know if you guys, if we, additional board member seating, so,
We don't need a motion for that. That's
No,
just the
that's-
policy.
yeah.
Procedure.
okay. Then I would just ask everyone, if you have someone who you think would do well. We had an election not too long ago, so I'm happy to reach out to the folks who had, votes as well, and see if they're still interested, and, yeah, we'll bring them forward. I would like for them to attend. We can move them up to the top of the agenda, so they can give a little spiel. Okay. So I am going to move on to the official approval of the parent-student handbook. Oh, this is the student handbook. Why? Does the link work for you guys in this one?
Yes.
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 And I can go through the changes. There's not the red line, but I mean, it was very minor. If that helps.
Yes.
Of course, we updated the date for this current year. The table of contents, the format was weird. So I want to thank Emma and Caitlin. They went in, and if every now when you go in there, there's not pages, because each one links up and bring them to that page in the handbook. So they did a lot of work on that, so it's really nice. They did the content. We updated the vision and mission statement to reflect the changes that the board made on those. We took out the schedule because it updates every year. So we just took the schedule out because they get that separately. Where it said director in the handbook, we made it say executive director. There was one spot where it says we have 12 buses that arrive. We just made it say buses because one year might be 10, might be 15. So we took that number out. And then where we have the org chart, we took out the name and left it in the position. Now it's time sensitive, we can continue on because those names could change, whatever it is. So it just has the position in that, in the org chart. We updated the calendar. And everything else is as is. The policies, none of them were changed. So those are the minor changes in this document.
And we haven't approved the corrected calendar, but I'm hoping they.
It's the same one.
Yeah, okay, that's coming.
I
I
was
was
just
just gonna say.
Any other questions or that was the changes?
I'm good. Should we?
I'll motion to approve this student parent handbook.
I will second.
All right. Cody, are you in favor?
Yes.
Maggie,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes,
and Dan is a yes, so motion passes 4-0. Great. Then we have an administrative one, board chair, director, governance chair, finance manager, access to the school attorney as needed. I would like to make a motion to approve this item G.
When you say- I have a question.
Go ahead. Yeah.
You say finance manager, you mean the treasurer or Jenny has? Okay.
Yeah, so clarification on this one. So I think in the past, one of the opportunities for us is that we had a number of folks reaching out for different reasons to attorneys. All of those bills end up coming back to the school. So I did get the governance chair one was a specific request, and I thought that that was fair. So I added them in because they were in anticipation going to need to be going back and forth with the lawyer to get these things clarified. But right now, I think I'll take that. If you guys are okay with that, I'll take that one on. So, but the future governance chair should have access to the attorney too, I believe. And it's not to try to control it, other than just, I think it was slightly abused in the past. So any concerns or questions, or can I get a second on this proposal?
I'll
To
second.
discuss more? Okay, so I firsted it, Maggie seconded it.
so
So-
your comment had been abused in the past, in what way?
So some of them are in the recommendations, like in the long investigation report, where I think irrespective of title, people were using it. So this doesn't necessarily fix it if the person who's mentioned as a title here is also abusing the lawyer thing. But it was an attempt to try to reduce it back, because I think as the chair, I got the unredacted versions of the bills. So like a redacted version of the bill would be maybe to Randy for, let's say, $10,000 of legal fees. And then my version would be page after page, so-and-so called me, $500 here, so-and-so sent an email, $250 here. And so the attempt is to try to reduce some of that down, because I know for a fact what I saw, this is just my experience last year, was I knew the answer to a number of those questions because I had already asked those questions. So you could fault me for not sharing the answers back, to the whole board, but we got charged another $250 or another $500 because they replied back to people. So it's an attempt to try to reduce our exposure financially. It actually is in our, I'm pretty sure this one came directly out of our cadence, that we're supposed to do this once a year, authorize these people, but I saw the example where it wasn't necessarily followed last year. So that's probably a board training thing, if nothing else. Just please, if you have a question for the lawyer, maybe send it to me first, or to Randy if it's administrative or what have you. That was the attempt. An example, Jeff, maybe we, for the expansion, I mean, we went back and forth. So maybe a fair question is, can we or should we do that differently? I'm not saying we didn't. I thought what we did, the end product is fantastic, right? we have legal representation, we have our expansion committee representation, so how it happened worked out fine, but in this case, if I read it, if I'm honest, it would have been maybe Randy as and maybe I should say executive director instead of just director, right? Or chair, executive director.
Yeah, I mean, we should have that discussion because, I tried my best not to have a conversation directly with Jim Martin, to question him or whatever. I was trying to work with Kate or Randy, other than thanking him for his good job. So, but we should have that conversation as, because it's just only ramping up.
We can always add other access in future, at future. times.
Yeah, part of it, but yeah, we need to control it, because if we don't have a way of sharing the information, then it's our bad. So,
And I hope you guys can appreciate that. I don't like being the third wheel, right? I don't like slowing things down. And so that's not the intent. I think the intent is just to try to manage it so it doesn't get chaotic. I think it's also nice for, let's say, for Jim or for Laura to have kind of a few contacts instead of getting notes from everyone. Let's say we have 9 board members. But the expansion committee could be another one, Jeff, where it makes sense to have, someone there.
yeah, I mean, we can figure that out later.
So other questions, concerns? I would like to, can I amend to have it say executive director? Maggie, did you second it? Do I recall?
I did,
Are you okay with that? Executive director?
yes.
Further discussion?
So looking ahead, if the expansion committee, working with Randy and Kate, decide that Kate may be, the better contact for certain things or not, I mean, or maybe that's not the case. You think you will in fact want to be the only contact? I don't want to mess things up by limiting it when in
And we
fact
can-
you two haven't had that discussion.
And so part of just, and you probably didn't see this, Jeff, but in terms of engaging Jim Martin on this
Yeah.
current contract thing, the way it worked was I talked to Randy, Randy reached out to Jim
Okay.
and told him that I would be sending a contract and working, so Jim was already told by Randy that I'd be engaging. I didn't just engage directly with Jim. So that's kind of how we can still work with this without having to ask Randy to ask Jim and then have Randy tell me what Jim said, like.
No, in fact, I don't want that to happen.
Right,
I don't want to unreasonably tie your hands by voting on this that says only executive director.
so that system worked pretty well, though, if he already had given that.
That was CC'd in on everything, so it was involved in the whole process.
Okay.
And actually, Jeff, that process worked fine for me, like where I was copied on the notes, I believe, I haven't checked all of them, but at least I feel like there was notes going back and forth to the lawyer and I was copied on it. So when I got a chance to read, I was like, okay. So I had no issue with the way that happened. So I feel like that's still within this spirit. I think what was happening, Jeff, in the past that I think we need to stop is the small individual notes to attorneys on maybe questionable matters. And I'm not calling anyone out here. I'm just saying I saw some of those happen after the fact. I'm like, what was this? What was this? And it wasn't maybe necessarily related to the full board issues. It was more individuals. So I think that's what we're trying to stop. Not what we have been doing, which is great. That helps. Further questions, concerns? And I'm going to put it to a vote. Cody,
Yes,
in favor? Yes. Maggie?
Yes,
Jeff?
Yes,
And Dan is a yes. So this motion carries 4-0. We have up next the elections policy 201.1. And I believe this was some red line edits that was from a previous the election committee, provided some red line edits. Comments,
I don't-
questions?
know if we can approve it tonight. I think we've had substantial changes that need 2 readings. And we don't have a policy committee to
And I don't know if you know me, you were kind of involved, in this, and I think I recall that.
I was part of
Ms.
it.
Dodge said this would be the presentation and then it'd go to right, it would go to the board in August for approval.
Okay.
I think this is the
Yep.
reading.
Okay.
So
So it
as,
shouldn't be an approval.
It
and
should be
decision.
first
It should
reading.
be first reading.
we always do first readings in the consent agenda, or we just don't even put it.
No, I think it's.
You know what, Jeff,
In discussion, that's the.
I'm
point of the
trying,
meeting.
yeah, I'm trying to be more clear about discussion versus decision. That was one of our opportunities too. So I think I should have put this in discussion then.
Okay.
You know, if that would have been more clear, and maybe I could call it first reading, discussion, and then next.
Yeah, that's what I meant. I didn't mean,
Yeah.
the consent, I meant the actual discussion. Okay.
I'll try to do a better job of that in the future. So I'm also okay then if we don't need to approve it, any comments, maybe, you know, feedback, otherwise we can do it as approval for next month.
Yeah, I actually have some feedback right now.
Okay,
Roman numeral 4. It's about campaigning. I am not comfortable with this at all. I'm not sure about A, but definitely B and C. I mean, number one, I am not comfortable because we might be allowing the use of school assets for personal use. And frankly, you opened the door on this and I'm not even sure what we're gonna end up with, so. There are many different ways of looking at it and none of them are great.
So when we were talking about this, it came up this year because there, a teacher did announce
Sure.
that they were running, and then there was a question, is that allowed? And that's how it came up, and so then when we were talking about it, you can't prevent someone from campaigning.
Correct.
So the thought was, well, then if we lay out rules or, you know, how it should be done, that would be better. So not having it in there, we felt was more worrisome than putting some structure to it.
Well, less worrisome is prohibiting it,
Okay,
but I mean,
but you can't,
so
but we
before I
thought you
even
couldn't
get
do
there,
that.
yeah, well, before we even get there.
Uh-huh.
You know, I'm talking about not announcing that a person is running. You're right, you can announce it. You just can't, I'm just suggesting. If you do it in such a way as you use school assets, that looks like it's for personal use.
Sure.
Then that's the line
Okay.
it's being crossed, not the you're announcing. So, you know, people don't realize that, for instance, that's probably why a lot of schools have email, you know, your email policy says you can't say you're selling Girl Scout cookies, right? I mean, that underlying it is you're using it for personal use. I mean, and if you don't draw the bright line, there's always some way. And by the way, it's not just for personal use. It could be deemed harassment because you're asking people, and if everyone looks at it and they're going, "Oh man, what is May gonna think of me if I don't buy cookies from her?" You know, so it gets really weird. So if you do that and allow this, then it does kind of open the door. Number two, you know, if you're a teacher that has greater access to more students than a teacher that might only teach certain subjects, not fair, right? So one would argue if you teach calc, everyone's gonna kind of maybe see you. If you teach certain subjects, they may see you more. Can't control that. And you don't want to be sending emails from teachers that don't have a particular student in their class, and also they're getting these announcements. And then third, from an equity standpoint, if you allow campaigning, I mean, how far do you go?
Well,
You have
and so
people with
The
time.
thought was these
and
three
money.
things are what would be considered campaigning. So,
Oh, there's a lot
I
more
know,
that could
I know.
happen. and you
Oh,
get prohibited
completely.
here.
right, but it was saying, in addition to the profile, they can prepare one additional statement. They can share the fact they're running with families, and additional campaigning is allowed within the scope of MSA policies, and so I guess. I guess is that the concern C, not A and B?
In addition, let's see. Well, A is what we kind of already do. I believe.
So this would be one additional statement to their profile.
Well, I mean, we allow the one statement, we publish one statement as part of the packet,
Okay.
and all that, so maybe that's the way I was thinking.
Okay.
The one, but if you're thinking of yet
I-
another one, that would be another one.
Okay,
You know, like I said, additional campaign is allowed within the scope of MSA policy, so then there's no limit. You, whatever creative way you can think of to use and do, apparently it's okay, as long as it's not otherwise addressed by other MSA policies.
What about Jeff?
But
Are we
you start
concerned?
handing out things to families that drive up. Then I can hand out flyers, I can hand out anything, frankly.
Would it be fair to say it like, I think we want to keep the process fair. I like that. You know, you can provide your own statement. And then from there, the administration will take over the communication of that statement and everything fairly across the candidates. Anything else in terms of campaigning would be done without the school's resources. I'm just thinking if somebody wanted to put a banner up on their yard or whatever, they can do that. They could buy a signboard. So I think it's true, we can't stop that activity. But by listing out things that they can do, it's a slippery slope a little bit, is what you're getting at, is that right? Whereas if we just say, everything will be handled evenly across the board, the only thing that you're responsible for as a candidate is your candidate statement. And then the administration will manage that fairly, because otherwise, using school property and school resources, students access, all those things, I mean, it's hard to police that, and I don't think we should. So you almost have to I think you have to draw a line and say, you cannot use the paper or the printer or the copier or your school time with, you know, all these students. That puts you at an unfair advantage perhaps versus another teacher.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, school assets, that's where you draw the line.
Yeah, yep.
You know, when you say you can't stop, I suppose, you know, if you can step off school property and you want to put up a banner. Can we stop that? I don't even want to go there for that question, but I'd like to think that people are trying to act fairly and frankly in good taste. And I don't see that as being in good taste for our school. I mean, this is not 833. You know, 2 years ago, you know, we have to push people to get people on the board. This is awesome that people want to be. I don't want to stop that, and that's great passion. But I don't know how to address this, but it just does not make me feel comfortable when we start allowing campaigning specifically. You know, it's one thing to be somewhat silent, and you're right, Maggie. It's kind of like, gosh, if they're going to do it, at least we should put some parameters. Yeah, I kind of get that too, but.
and that's how we were looking.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah,
I think that's a great way to look at it too, but I don't know. I don't know the solution. It's.
But I kind of, in general, like the idea that the school will provide a fair access, which is the website, you know, the blurb will be there. It should be
Yep.
emailed out by the administration. Everyone, you know, here's the link to the page. But then that's where it stops. That's where the school support stops, I feel. So I don't want, you know, teachers spending hundreds of thousands of dollars of schools' resources campaigning for their position.
You know, I'm all for, not that any of our elected officials do this, but feel free to talk about the great things you've done, can do, will do, what a great person you are. The minute you talk about someone else, I'm not comfortable with that. Because now we're setting up a culture that's just cutthroat. I mean, can we in fact, you know, rule against that? I'm not sure. But still, I mean, you kind of get the feel where I'm coming from, which is if we're all doing it in good, you know, with good intent, I am great. But
Should it not be called campaigning? Should it be called
I don't.
announcing
I don't
or
see information.
presenting their candidacy.
you know,
And then you could have something about campaigning in these, in any manner that uses extra assets of the school that are not yours, that demeans or
yeah, I
speaks
don't know.
ill of another candidate, will not be allowed or tolerated or something. I don't know.
Should we work together on what your
Yes.
your concerns are,
Sure.
bring that together, bring that to the next meeting.
I mean, just to show what a fine line this could be.
Yeah.
Like using school information like email address of a student. I don't know if that's even a FERPA violation. If it is, we're in hot water. The fact that that information is in fact public in other ways doesn't matter. You took it from the school. I mean, that's where I'm looking at. I mean, it's all these tendrils of things that, I don't do this for a living, so I don't know what this all means.
So I heard, Randy,
it sounds
you're
like-
okay to kind of give some thought to that one on the campaigning
Yeah.
together with Maggie?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So, all right. Other concerns with the election one?
Was there concerns with anything else about the electronic stuff? Because we did a lot of
Well,
updating for electronic.
because we talked about that too. And that balloting will be electronic, I think. Pretty much is, so instead of, like, we had to change the wording a little bit. Just to reflect that really. They are electronic now.
Well, you're chewing on that. Is our response rate getting better? Because I remember when we first switched to electronic, it dips quite a bit. It did, not hugely, but I think we noticed a dip. Now, everything we look at is, we're talking about equity. And we talk about equity in terms of kids not having computers at home and, we give Chromebooks and everything. If we do everything electronic, we are assuming everyone looks at it and uses either a phone or a computer. And I know that for a fact not to be true on the parent level. Where do we go with that? I don't know. I mean, that is a consideration. If we're going to run it electronic, we should go back and make sure that things are getting better, not worse. And that we have not inadvertently made it difficult for people to manage even seeing it and getting notice and then voting.
I know, I remember a little discussion on this, and I think the concern was that it being behind the firewall, so people forgetting their passwords if they don't regularly go in and whatnot. So I think, I thought some work was done on it, and I thought I remember Sandy saying that we saw higher numbers this last go round. Maybe not to the paper level, but then if you think about it, the paper level was many, many hours and also maybe hundreds of dollars at 50 cents a stamp, so whatever that ends up to being. So there's pros and cons, but I agree, if it goes up against equity, we need to be careful there. So good
Just
points.
Access to.
We can look and see if it's on the website. I know the previous school.
Can I move us?
Yeah.
Can I move us to 205, the open meeting policy?
Yep.
So I believe, Randy, the main thing was catch from Jeff last time, which is the special call out for coaches. So we're planning to remove that special privilege. Is that right?
Yes.
So the section is yellow highlighted, but that section would be removed,
Yeah,
7?
I
Section 7?
think you're otherwise covered by, as an employee, right? I mean, that was the other piece of it. I didn't just want to cut out them not being protected. I want to make sure it went in the right place.
They're not getting extra protection.
Well, extra protection, but also they maintained what everyone else is getting, right? Now, of course, having said that, you read in the news about, a parents having to, or a coach having to defend themselves. Now you see why they probably put that as a suggestion, because you do not want that happening either. That's a tough deal. I mean,
In,
Any thoughts of
and
past?
you look at
experience?
some of these major public schools,
Yeah.
coaching is like, right, you win or not, right? We get, I mean, I don't think we have that concern
Okay,
here as
true.
much, right?
So
some
scholarship
districts,
too,
oh,
right?
yeah, yes.
You play my child because scouts are out there.
This is, it's much different.
Good.
What we pay our coaches, I mean, we're, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, just want to make sure.
So can I make a motion to approve it minus the yellow section? The coach's specific call out. I guess I'm making a motion to approve it. Can I get a second?
I just want to clarify, so we're basically taking that away, but they're still gonna get the normal,
Sure.
what every other, it would
Employees.
be equitable with all other employees.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, Cody seconds. Any further discussion on this one? All right, Cody, in favor? Again?
Yes,
Maggie,
Yes,
Jeff,
Yes.
and Dan is a yes, so good, we got that one cleaned up. Next one up is the calendar. Hopefully this is a quick one. So we have the revised calendar date. There's one date that needed to be cleaned up, right?
March 13th.
Yeah. PD.
Yeah.
PD.
Yeah, I want to get the color and the actual letters right. Green.
Yes,
again,
So
back
I-
to that discussion earlier about when it's printed in black and white, the letters still tell you what's going on.
yes.
Can I get a motion to approve the calendar? Is that you,
I'll
Cody?
motion to approve the calendar.
Second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All right, Cody, you're up.
Yes,
Maggie,
Yes,
Jeff,
Yes.
and Dan is a yes. So the calendar is officially, it's doubly approved, right? Because it was in the handbook too. Good. Then we have the approving the members of the building company. Randy, are you able to talk to this one?
Sure. We just took who we had, updated it, changed, put myself in for Miss Dodge. Cody's still there. Joelle, I talked to her, she's still in agreement. And then we have we had to remove someone who no longer is with. And Kate had a community member who had expressed interest. So, and then Jenny Apps will be the Bergen representative. Judith was in there before. So unless there's any other additional members, I just took what we had, updated with current people that want to serve on the MSA building company.
Are these meetings, do you have public meetings for these, really, or not? Not
We
really?
would, yes, we have, it follows the same open meeting laws. We have to post them. We need to. So once we get a hold of these people, we'll find what their availability is. We'll set up some meetings, especially now with the expansion committee going. We need to get this committee rocking and rolling here. So we'll start contacting these people and find out availability and start setting up some times.
Because my thought is, we have these, looks like 5 names, but then once we post it, people are welcome to sit in as well. So it's not like it's final. Anyone, can sit in as well. Okay. I can make a motion to approve the list for the building company.
I'll second.
Second, Maggie seconds. Any further discussion on this one? All right, Cody, you're up again.
I'm not sure if I should abstain because technically I'm appointing myself as their treasurer. I think
Okay,
I'm gonna
yeah,
abstain.
abstain. Maggie,
Yes,
Jeff,
Yes.
and Dan is a yes. So passes 3-4-0 against and 1 abstain. So great. Be good to get those going again. So that's it for decisions. So we have future board items. Successful administration transition. So Randy, I'm going to need you to chime in on that one if we have any problems, but that's one of our key things. So how's it been going now? What, a couple of weeks
It's
already?
been going really good. Steve and Kate have been wonderful. So thank you too. Ms. Dodge has been available as needed with questions here and there. Plus everybody else and the office staff and everybody has been extremely helpful. Emma, Justin, getting everything set up. We had everything situated with MDE, everything legally is all set up with MDE, so we're in a good position, and we had the welcome luncheon, which was really nice. We're really appreciative of that, so yes, it's been a great transition.
Very good, very good. So thanks for that. And then annual board training on data privacy. This one was a reoccurring item that I saw on the agenda and didn't get a chance to have it. So I just kicked it to a future item so I didn't forget it. So that's something that we're going to need to do in the future. I don't know, Randy, maybe you and I, we can chit chat or something if we have some ideas of who to help us cover with that one. I know we've done it in the past, Maggie or Jeff. I'm trying to remember, Cody. We have done this in the past. I found it very useful. And I remember we had a lot of questions that we probably said we need to have more of this, right? So
Especially with
Gotta go through the
potential
notes.
4 brand new members,
Yeah.
it's been really important to have it.
yeah, you're right. Maybe that's a good workshop item for October, November, something like that. So okay, pluses and minuses. What do you guys, what worked, what didn't?
There was air conditioning.
Yeah,
It's a big improvement from last time.
this worked better than I thought it would with you on Zoom. It's not ideal,
I'll
but it,
I'll admit I was
better than I
pretty
thought it was.
anxious. I don't know if you can hear the dance music that I've been contending with, but I've got that going through the speakers here, but I thought that was better than the traffic outside here, so I went with the dance music. So, yeah, it's not ideal. And so thanks for bearing with, it works, but best is if we can all be in the same place, for sure. Otherwise, I think we tried, Randy, we tried to get the agenda set up for the most part, you know, kind of locked in. I know that was one of the feedbacks from last month was the last minute changes. There was still a couple, you know, between probably that Monday and the Wednesday, but I tried to not have too many of them. But anyways, we can always do better. So I think Randy, yourself, and Maggie, you and I will find some time to do a debrief of this session in the coming weeks and then set us up for the agenda for the next one, like as per normal. So.
Hey, Dan, on a side note, Emma said this was probably one of the most organized times because she had everything in a reasonable amount of time. So she was very thankful. So there wasn't a lot of
Good,
change
good.
to the agenda.
Yeah, and I can tell you, it seems like it's coming together more second nature, a little bit easier now for folks, so that's great. Okay. Then I am gonna make a motion to end the meeting at 8:33 Central Time. So can I get a second?
I will second.
Maggie seconds. Cody?
Yes.
Yes, Maggie?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And Dan, yes. So thanks, everyone, and thanks for tuning in for those watching remotely. And look forward to, I'm assuming we'll do the next meeting in August unless we need a call for a special meeting pending NTH. So, all right. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Dan.
Bye. Thank you.